5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start. Sir, I would like to draw attention to some aspects of the export policy and the strategy. We all know your exportable surplus is only a very small part of our gross national product, roughly of the order of 5–6%. We know, however, that international trade, foreign trade, is a function of international interdependence, no doubt. Basically, we produce for our own consumption, but whatever a natural advantage we have, we naturally have to tap it to build exportable surpluses so that we can earn the necessary foreign exchange for meeting our essential requirements. The essential policy that have followed is correct. I see nothing wrong to fight against. The policy of export promotion and import substitution must remain our policy. But it seems in actual implementation, we have failed on both fronts. Our share of the world trade has come down from roughly 1% about 2 decades ago to less than 0.5% in 1984. We remain primarily an exporter of primary products despite all the noise we make about non-traditional items. Tea, jute, iron ore, rice, spices, cashew nuts are our mainstay. And we have probably the only exception among the major items, textiles, leather, if you can call it an industrial product. We hear so much about engineering goods. Our export of engineering goods accounts for 0.1% of the total world trade in engineering exports 20 years after we made our first engineering export to the United States sometime in 1977. I think this needs to be improved. I have, therefore, a few suggestions to make. I feel that our markets must be diversified, and so should be our sources of supply. We should think of markets nearer home in our close vicinity, in Africa, West Asia, in Southeast Asia. And one way of doing it will be to build mutually beneficial relationships, ties of interdependence. Secondly, there are a number of items in which greater efforts has to be put in order to organize the producers and exporters. I do not want to say combines in associations. And I think a little bit of a beginning was made in the case of jute. We can do a better collective bargaining with our buyers, and we can have more favorable terms of trade, better international marketing than we are having today. Thirdly, we have to add naturally to our value-adding capacity. From iron ore we are going to polymerization. But why cannot we go to iron and steel? After all, for a country of our dimensions and resources, 5 to 6 million tons of steel is peanuts. I just mentioned leather. From leather we have moved on to leather goods, to shoes, etc. We must diversify our exports because if we want to have a non-operational market for non-traditional goods, we have to adopt a policy of natural self-denial. You cannot run foreign trade in terms of red and green signals. You cannot run foreign trade in terms of a gain and on a gain principle. If you want to cultivate a foreign market, you have to service it. You have to see to it that we do not fail when there is scarcity. But we have also to see that we do not fail internally as well as minister externally. For this we have to build up buffer stocks. Mr. Vice Chairman, I know that the Commerce will say, yes, all these need to be done. I can do a very good job of buying and selling. But where are the things to sell? Therefore, surely production comes first, production, both primary and secondary. The constraints coming in the way of production have got to be removed so that the installed capacity can be fully utilized. And as my distinguished colleague has said, productivity has to be improved. For that, what is required is to whip up your infrastructure. There are transport bottlenecks in both rail and road. There are ports which simply cannot handle our import and export trade. There are ports which foreign liners refuse to touch because the turnaround period is so high. I know shipping is a problem. There are many regions with which we do not have direct shipping. There is always the problem of whether you first develop your export trade and then establish a shipping link or first have the shipping link and then develop export trade. There is also the question of adequate banking and insurance facilities with a number of developing countries. We do not have such facilities. Such facilities have been, by and large, monopolized by the developed countries. Finally, at home we ought to have better market intelligence and better communication facilities and perhaps more efficient methods of customs inspection. These are some of the other bottlenecks. I would like the Commerce Minister to fight against these bottlenecks and all other constraints and fight against some of his colleagues here to have them removed.